So this is a story about deer hunting, and well, we'll get to the moral of the story at the end. So last November, about, let's see, probably November 28th or 29th, I was out hunting with my girlfriend, and we were trying to get her first deer. She wanted to shoot a buck, so we were waiting. So we're sitting at a property that hasn't been hunted all year yet. You know, so the deer are fresh, right? They're not really getting shot at. And they're naive to it being deer season. Not entirely, probably, because they can hear gunshots and they can free roam, of course. But here, they think it's safe, probably. So we're sitting around, and I don't see a thing. We're sitting kind of in the middle of this rye field, tree line, so not really in the middle of the field. But we're in the middle of the field such that you can look out and see everything. So it gets to be about 8:30 and we haven't seen a thing. And I said, you know what, why don't we move down to the tree stand at the edge of the tree line? So we get up and we move. And we get in the tree stand as quietly as we can. It takes us maybe 20 minutes. And recently, the tenant farmer at this place had installed a perimeter fence about 8 feet high around all 160 acres of this place. So that's a lot of territory that's been, you know, really cut off from most deer traffic. It's actually open on the north side. But we're sitting in this tree stand, and this young buck comes running, runs down this fence line, sees us, goes back. Comes back down the fence line, sees us, goes back. And I said to my girlfriend, you know what? There's always lots of deer activity over there. I really didn't know if the fence was gonna change anything or not, but he's obviously coming down this line. Why don't we move over into the grass over there? So we moved down to the grass. So there's all this 160 acres here, right? And this deer anyway, he's hugging the fence line about 30 yards away from our tree stand. Historically, there's always been deer here, right? But who knows what the situation's like now. Now it's unknown with this perimeter fence put up. So we're sitting in the grass. And looking across the field, we see there's a little gap in the fence. There's just something about the terrain elevation where the deer are actually able to jump this. And so we're sitting there and we see this really big buck jump out. I don't know how big he was really. Mature 8 or 10 point probably. He was pretty big though. And he goes off to the west. And we're watching, and then we see these other deer come by. So this doe jumps the fence. And these other 2 deer jump out. They're probably a little too far away for me to really see if they have antlers or not, but they jump out. So they're kind of hidden behind a little valley. And suddenly from our left comes this doe, like 25 yards in front of us. Comes up to the fence line, goes up and down it, and goes back across. 5 minutes later, that same buck came by. Looks like he had jumped the fence. That same buck came by chasing a doe. And he had a little buck with him too. So 2 bachelor bucks are chasing this doe. And this buck is going like this on the fence line. He's rubbing his body against it. He's actually body slamming it. I don't know what he's doing, but he's body slamming it. I've never seen this before. But we were right to move. We were right to move because that's where we saw all the deer. So, with trembling trepidation, my girlfriend pulls the hammer back on her lever action gun. She's getting ready to take a shot. And she says she doesn't know which one's bigger. And so she finally takes a shot at one, shoots it through the heart, so perfect. And we weren't sure if she actually hit it or not. It runs, it dips into this valley far away. right where the deer jump the fence. And before long, all these deer scatter. So we were waiting, we're still hunting, you know. About 20 minutes later, that same little buck comes by and he's rubbing the fence, just like this, and he's body slamming it and checking it out. And he comes up to like 20 yards of us. And eventually he just spooks and he runs off. About 20 minutes after that, he did come back again, but at this point, it's just a comedy show, right? Like, we're not gonna shoot him. Anyway, we get up finally to go look for this deer. And we didn't see any blood anywhere. Kind of unusual. No blood anywhere. But, you know, you do your due diligence, right, when you're a hunter. So we just walked to the valley where we thought it would be. It's not in the valley. So I go off the trail. And I'm in the brush, okay? And I find this little buck that my girlfriend shot. And I started jumping up and down. I was so excited. And she came over and she jumped up and down too. And basically we dragged it back together, and you know, I taught her how to gut and field dress the deer. And yeah, I suppose the moral of that story is, you know, it's okay, at least from a deer hunter's perspective. You know, you can move your stand in the middle of a hunt, but you have to do it with intentionality. If you have, like in my case, I had prior knowledge that this area behind us often had deer traffic. We weren't seeing anything to begin with. So I followed my intuition based on experience to, you know, move down the hill a little bit into a tree stand. And after we saw this weird peculiarity, this one little buck coming back and forth, I knew it was time to move again. And that was the right choice. It was right to follow my intuition on this peculiar occasion. And I guess that's it. That's the moral of the story. If you're ever deer hunting and you don't see anything, it pays to move sometimes.